you were mentioning this, how that relationship to the Lord is really healing. Could you maybe talk a little bit more about how, relating to Ishvara or relating to the Lord, it can help with I think, psychological health?
Yeah. I written an article and also did a podcast episode on this, rescuing God from our ideas.
How interesting. Yeah.
And so first we have to address what our ideas of God are. Because most of us have grown up with an idea that, it's a he and sitting in some place, maybe Swarga or heaven, depending on which religion or culture one is from. And in some cultures, he is judgmental and unforgiving and watching you all the time and waiting for you on Judgment Day, that is, if you make it. And or else one lives in fear of what he might do. And who else but God to introduce himself, which he does in the Bhagavad Gita, or there are so many other texts of Vedanta. And our guru used to use a phrase called settling accounts with Ishvara. And I will explain that a bit. The human search for the infallible must be recognized. So in the sense that the human heart longs for the infallible, someone who's capable of no error. And we are always disappointed because we search for the infallible in the fallible. So I'm looking for my best friend in school who will always be there for me, or my first boyfriend or girlfriend, or my partner who will complete me, and everyone swooned when Jerry Maguire said that, Tom Cruise to whoever was his wife there. So this search for completeness, one looks for in limited things such as one's job and so on, So actually the problem is that nothing is wrong with these people, but the connection for the divine and the sacred is not understood. And in the Vedic tradition, we don't seek to believe in God, we have to understand God. And since God himself introduces himself, the definition is so profound. So that from which all beings have come, that by which all beings are sustained, and that into which all beings are resolved.
Mm-hmm.
So Taitriya, Yato Imani, etc., etc. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what that means is that there is no one God, there are no many gods, there is only God. That's what our guru said, and that's the vision of Hinduism, which means that everything is sacred. So I was so judgmental of myself, or I was judgmental of others, and reduced them to labels, and as a result of which avoided them and was in deep conflict and so on. But now, in the light of this definition, if everything is sacred, and if everything is a manifestation of Ishvara, then maybe I need to change my perspective. Maybe I need to figure out how I can live in harmony with this person who happens to be my partner or my colleague at work, whom I cannot get along with. But maybe there is a reason why this person is in my life. So then walks in law of karma. Why me? Why do good things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people, and so on? And so as I start to look at my life in the light of laws of nature, which are very conveniently termed to remove God from the picture, we actually call it Ishvara's order. So then that search for the infallible is now a guided, directed search, and the completeness I was seeking in my relationships and my job and my work and so on is now really a search for God. And what it really means is that I am sacred. I am a manifestation of Ishvara. Now, what defense can I have against this? You know? So all the thinking that revolves around I am not enough, well, actually, that's going to go for a toss because I am sacred. And here I'm talking from the standpoint of the form. And so the more one dwells on this, and of course, there's a lot of teaching related to it, in the way in which one brings different attitudes to how one relates with people and situations and so on, then there is a lot of harmony, there is a lot of peace, there is a lot of joy and cheerfulness in a person's life. Because you have no resistances, or rather you drop a lot of the resistances that one had, because one always thought that I am different from the world and definitely different from God and so on.
Well, this idea that everything is sacred in Vedanta, you were, I think, just about to get there about can you give an example of how that would maybe look in someone's everyday life, having that vision behind them?
Right. So let me quote one shloka here, which is, it's a verse that we chant as a part of performing the puja. So it's Deho Devalaya Proktaha. The body is referred to as a temple. Jiva Deva Sanatanaha. The Jiva, the individual, is really the deity in the temple. Tyajed Ajnana Nirmalyam Soham Bhavena Pujayet. So may I give up the wilted flowers, because I see myself as separate from Ishvara, and with the recognition that I am him, I do this puja. Okay. Now, a little detour to the some practices that we see in India, and maybe it is prevalent in the Hindu diaspora as well. When one wakes up, we have a shloka, you touch the ground because you recognize that you're now going to step on Bhumi Devi. Even if you are staying in some penthouse of some 42nd floor, but still, that still rests on Bhumi Devi, the earth. And so you ask for forgiveness. I'm going to step on you. And then, of course, we have chants regarding invocation of grace. And then if one comes to India or sees some of these practices, you see people with folded hands all the time. And, somebody is praying to the sun, and then somebody is praying to the tree, and then somebody is praying to the cow, and then somebody is praying to the river, and then somebody is looking towards the mountain, Arunachala, and then praying. And anybody who doesn't have an idea of this Hindu vision would think this is crazy. But it's not crazy for us at all, because every form is sacred. And we see this even during Navaratri, which is coming up. So this 9-day festival, where a young girl is also looked upon as Devi, and then a puja, a worship is performed towards her because she is sacred. And then we will also worship our cars and mobile phones and electronic items, Ayudha Puja, whatever we are using, So what I'm pointing out too is that the reason we can easily pray to any form stems from the understanding that all that is here is sacred. Now, how does this filter in my daily life? First of all, that I have been given a day is itself a blessing. This day is never going to come back again, and it's mine, at least until it ends, that is. And I see that whatever I have has not been created by me. So this body, mind, yes, I've come through my parents, but they were just a nimitta, an instrument for me to be born. The various processes in the way in which my body functions, these cells in the body, different organs, they did not go to university and study about genetics. They just had an inherent intelligence about the way they function. And going through the day, I recognize that whatever I have is given to me. And so therefore, what can I do with this? If I have some clarity on the purpose of my life and whatever that is, then for me, everything becomes an offering unto Bhagavan Ishvara. So I have the blessing of choice. I have the blessing of doing karma. And to the extent that I have clarity on my pursuits, let's say I'm pursuing wealth, let's say I have a job, let's say I have a romantic relationship, and I have okay relationships with my family and so on, then I look upon every opportunity as an opportunity for me to contribute from the standpoint of dharma. What can I do to contribute to the happiness and growth of all these people who are in my life? Because they are here for a reason. And that reason happens to be the law of karma based on the choices that I have made. And then naturally, there will be friction. Whenever two people are talking or involved, there will be friction. And I don't need to take all friction personally, but I look at what I can do to contribute, because I am no longer an ordinary partner or an employee, but I am a devotee, because I am recognizing my relationship with the total that is Bhagavan. And so, although I seem to be relating to my partner and to my child and maybe announcing the layoff, at work, still, whatever I do is aligned with dharma. It is my contribution, and doing my karma is worship. So that makes it sacred, because that's my offering. And then, of course, as I get on with my day, there are likely to be situations that are favorable to me or not favorable to me, but I look upon it as a gift from Bhagavan. So we have this very beautiful cultural practice called, receiving prasada from the altar. So I remember once an American child had come to, along with the parents, to Pujya Swamiji. And so, the approach to the guru, as well as when one goes to the temple, is that we receive whatever is given, right? And Swamiji picked up an apple, and then he handed it over to her. And then in all her lovely innocence, all of 5 years, she said, "Can I have a banana instead?" And he said, "Of course." And then, he gave her the banana as well as the apple. So the attitude of receiving graciously, cheerfully from the altar or from a sacred holy person is that whatever is given to me, I receive wholeheartedly. And the different situations that one encounters in one's life in that day, one receives it cheerfully, knowing that these are the results of my very karma. These are the results of my very choices that I have made either in this lifetime or previous lifetimes. And so then, however the day unfolds, it is a sacred day. And we continue to be very grateful that we have this human life and we can make the most of it in fulfilling our purpose.
Wow. And so, yeah, I mean, even you can see how psychologically healing that would be for every act of mine to be engaging with the Lord, every act to be sacred. It's no longer, I'm not in isolation. I'm constantly in communication and connection with Ishvara, which is infallible. Yeah, how beautiful.